And welcome to the Iowa City Public Library. My name is Maeve Clark, and I'm Adult Services Coordinator here at the Public Library. And I'm also on the Money Smart Week Committee, of which this is a program, but it's also a program in conjunction with the Johnson County Livable Communities and with MidWestOne Bank. Amy Hospodarsky, my favorite name to pronounce in all the world, is a co-chair of the Money Smart Week Committee.
I'm sorry, ignore me, I'm fixing her mic.
It's kind of hard to ignore you, Beth, when you're standing right in front of me.
It's making awful noises.
So I'd like to introduce a couple of people in the audience today. The Johnson County Livable Communities, which I'll share a bit about soon, is, as I said, a co-sponsor. We have the chair of the policy board here. Tracy, raise your hand. And we have Lynette Jacoby. Oh, I just changed the syllables of your name. And Lynette, gosh. Lynette is the liaison for the Johnson County Social Services to the Johnson County Livable Community. And Jill Wagner, who is our stalwart creative person behind the Johnson County Livable Community, is also here. So to get started, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Johnson County Livable Communities. And I'd like to thank Sally Lemmy for preparing this slideshow. So, Johnson County Livable Community was created to help people find information on staying in their homes, living in Iowa City, living in Johnson County, and it's aimed at a senior audience. And if you follow anything in the news, seniors seem to be getting younger and younger. I think sometimes you can now get a senior discount if you're 50 years or older, but this is a Johnson County population projection for the 65-plus numbers, and as you can see, by 2025, there are going to be lots and lots of seniors in Iowa City, and there's a lot of in the Johnson County area, and there are many good reasons for that. They are growing older, obviously. All of us here every year will get a year older, and so the longer you live, and if you stay in Johnson County, you will become part of this cohort. Seniors are a valuable part of the community, spend a lot of money. Bankrate has listed Iowa as number 6 in 2015 as a place to retire. And I think in Iowa City and the Johnson County area, we're all familiar with what a popular place Iowa City is and Johnson County is to live in. Come on. The Milken Institute also rated Iowa City as a great location for successful aging. It's the best college town. I think we dropped off the best drinking town on the Princeton scale, but I'm sure we can work our way back up there again. So, Johnson County Livable Communities. This is the mission of the board. It's to serve as a unifying structure that fosters effective collaboration, communication, and education that will build and sustain a livable community for successful aging. It started out in 2004, and all of this information is on the Johnson County Livable Communities website, so I'm not going to repeat it all to you. There are 4 committees of the Johnson County Livable Community. Or there were at one point: Aging, Health and Human Services, Housing, and Transportation. The Aging Report talked about the future. The Housing Report talked about the need for people to be able to find homes that they can stay in Iowa City, and how they can live successfully in their home or find a place to live after they're no longer able to live in their house. So part of defining the vision was to share with the public a resource to find health and supportive services, to help with transportation and mobility options, to help people find affordable, accessible, and appropriate housing, to share information about community and economic development, and to talk about cultural, volunteer, lifelong learning, and employment opportunities, and public safety. And all of this together weaves a place that everyone would like to live, but also aimed primarily at an aging population. So there are many purposes to the policy board. The key ones are to address the needs of an aging population, to serve again as a as a unifying structure. Policy board members are appointed to 3-year terms. If you're interested in joining the policy board, there's an application back on the table with lots of other interesting giveaways, including one of my favorites. Good job, Jill and Lynette. This is a jar opener that we give away at the Johnson County Fair or at other programs. And so as you age, or even if you're not old, this really helps to unscrew the lids of jars. So feel free to take one of those. We have a board member in our audience, as well as Tracy. Nancy Lynch is a board member of Livable Community. There are no less than 10 and no more than 16 members. And how many openings are there, Lynette, right now? So there are 5 openings, and there's an application in the back. Feel free to take one or talk to any of us about the board. There are 2 to 3 representatives of Johnson County government, including a Board of Supervisors member, and that person this year is Mike Carberry. Then there are individuals affiliated with organizations that have to do with aging or livable communities, and 3 to 6 residents of Johnson County with at least 2 members residing outside an urbanized area. So we try to represent all of Johnson County. So we hope to improve communications and outreach efforts, and I'm here at the podium because I'm the chair of the Communications Committee, and so one of our goals is to do some educational programs, and this is one of them. Increase community dialogue on successful aging, and we participate in lots and lots of forums. And these are our current action teams: transportation, housing, fall prevention, and communications. And then we have a new action team that's an ad hoc team called, pardon me? Caregivers, which is a huge part of aging in place or finding a place to live. So if you're interested in not being on the policy board, but being on a committee, let one of us know that as well. There's also a sign-up sheet in the back where you can sign up for our newsletter, so please take that. And the housing team deals with housing issues. And this team has been in place for a long time, and I think they've done quite a few really remarkable things. The Falls Prevention Action Team, I always say it without the S, and it makes me think it's only active in autumn, but it's not. It's active all year round, and it's to help people be successful in staying in their home. And one of the reasons people end up in nursing homes is because they've fallen and injured themselves and broken a bone, and sometimes when that happens and you're older, you don't mend as quickly, and you can end up never going back to your home. So the Falls Prevention Action Team has done a lot of good work as well. Transportation Action Team helps seniors maintain independence, and they have a brochure in the back, and this is all also available on our website, that has transportation and mobility options throughout the county and affordable transportation to medical appointments. Communication Committee, there are a couple members of the Communication Committee in here, Al and me. Oh, the 2 of us. Betty Kelly has also been on the Communications Committee for a long, long time, and Sally Lemmy, who created this PowerPoint, is a member of the Communications Committee. And we communicate. We have a Directory of Aging Services. This is a screenshot of the directory. You'll find it in the JCLC, Livable Communities website. Jill Wagner is our specialist. This is just an example of one of the things that comes out when we have a newsletter. We have a new newsletter about to be launched soon. And then this is a screenshot of the website. So I hope you all do take a couple of moments and take a look at it. We've worked and gotten grants for a number of our programs, Sure Steps, the Medical Transportation Program, and we had a newsletter grant. You can, again, as I said, volunteer to be on the policy board or to be a member of a committee. And if you so feel inclined, you can make a donation to JCLC. The majority of our funding does come from Johnson County government. So for more information, visit our website. And now I am going to turn the program over to the meat of the day, and that is 2 of our speakers who are from MidWestOne Bank, and I'll let them introduce themselves, and feel free to get up and have a cookie or another sandwich and If you guys need anything from me, just let me know. Oh, one last thing. I did also bring in the May schedule for the Iowa City Public Library. We always try to promote our programs and our collections. There is a display upstairs with materials on how to avoid fraud. If you want to learn more, if this whets your appetite, or you need to take things home and read through them. And we also, so that display is on the second floor, but also on the calendar are where we have drop-in tech time. So if you have questions about computers, you can come to the library on Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 to 12, and we have people, library staff members, who will help you. And then on Tuesdays from 12 to 4, we also have staff members who will help you. But then we have a special session on Thursdays, and that is our senior drop-in tech time. And that is an outgrowth of something that the Communications Committee did, and that's staffed by volunteers, high volunteers from Johnson County Livable Communities. We have 3 of them in the back, and they're wonderful to work with. So remember that. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Angie Brown. I manage the downtown office of MidWestOne Bank, just on the corner of Washington and Clinton down here.
And I'm, oh, hi. Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Can you hear us better now?
When you're right up close
Yeah.
to the mic, it's there.
Okay, can you hear, is it better? I just, it's.
Can you raise it? Just
There you go.
Yeah. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm Sarah Zuber, and I am the fraud analyst down at our MidWestOne One Place location. It's down kind of right next to the courthouse and the old post office. And I don't know, did they hear you when you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sounds good. And we're here to just kind of talk about some of the emerging trends in fraud, especially kind of geared more towards seniors as a whole. Just kind of some stuff that we've been seeing, a lot of things that our customers fall victim to. So before we get started on the specific ones, I just wanted to kind of let you know this is very informal, so go ahead and shout out if you have any input. If you know of anyone or you yourself have fallen victim to anything, we encourage you to share what that is, because maybe it's something I haven't seen before, or Angie, so go ahead and do that. But we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see, go to the next one maybe. There we go. So the unsolicited work, we've seen this kind of emerge more recently, I would say. It's usually geared towards seniors, and what happens is they get contacted by someone to do yard work, roof repair, something like that. They usually, I know with most legitimate contractors, they usually require some type of like a down payment or something for their services, and then, you pay for the work they did afterwards. Well, the scams that we've been seeing is the victim ends up paying them quite a large sum, I would say, right off the bat, and then kind of gives them checks here and there throughout the process, and usually ends up paying for the entire job before the job's done, and then they don't get the job done, or it's really shoddy work. It's not very good, and we've even seen some situations where the contractors will actually pick the victim up like at their house, take them to the bank, kind of assist in that type of thing. And anytime that they get involved, any further than just the kind of I'm coming to work and leave, that's when you kind of want to get suspicious. And if you ever have questions about it, definitely ask your banker. You can always call if something just doesn't feel right. But yeah, usually when they're being really pushy about getting the money ahead of time is when you kind of want to be a little suspicious. And also, if you do have contractors doing work on your home, something like that, asking to see receipts is very important. So if you are prepaying, that you know what it's going towards, because usually those prepayments are towards, supplies that they need, and then the amount that you pay at the end is for the work. So do you want to do the next one?
Yes, the next one would be bank scams. This is when someone gets a phone call from a bank employee asking for verification information. Basically, if a bank or anybody would contact you, we wouldn't ask you any personal information. We have all your information on file. We wouldn't call you, just ask what your social security number is, what your account number is. We have all that information. Mind you that when you call into the bank or into a company, they might ask verification questions just to make sure that we're releasing the right information to the correct people. But you should never give out your bank information or personal information that someone contacts you directly. If someone does, just simply hang up and then call the bank directly to say, did you just call? Or someone from the bank said they just called, what is it about? So, yeah, or stop into your local bank and ask directly, because usually we would have information on file if someone would have to call you.
The next scam that we're going to touch on is the grandchild in distress scam. Usually this is a phone call that you would get from someone, and usually they have someone younger do it, and they'll be like, just for instance, I answer the phone, and the other person on the line's like, Grandma or Grandpa, and, you know, immediately, usually what happens is the person who answers the phone call will, you know, like say Jimmy or Sarah or something like that, you know, asking who it is. Well, right then, they already have the grandchild's name, and so they're going to go ahead and, you know, kind of play off of that. But essentially, they're going to let you know that they're in some type of trouble. Sometimes they say they're on vacation, they're overseas even, we've had. On spring break, it happens all the time around that time of year, Christmas vacation time, that type of thing. But they'll call and essentially say that they're in trouble. They called you because they don't want to get in trouble with their family, like their mom and dad. And they'll ask you not to call them because they don't, you know, they want to stay out of trouble. They'll ask for you to send them money somehow to get them out of trouble, whether they are arrested or, I don't know, I don't remember what.
Car accident,
Car accident, absolutely. And, you know, kind of when you get approached like that, a lot of people kind of flip into panic mode, and they don't really always think logically, and they're like, okay, well, I need to get this money out as soon as possible, and so they'll send it out. We've had a couple situations where it was caught, but we have had a few victims in the area recently. And, I mean, it's just kind of something that you just need to take a second, you know, think about it. Even if the person says, don't call my parents, definitely call the parents. Make sure if you have the cell phone of your grandchild, make sure you're calling them just in case, because I'm guessing that they didn't call from a number that's even similar to their number. So definitely kind of make those calls first. Even call your bank, because a lot of times we're going to be able to tell you that it's a scam. And so let's see. And usually if that's, you know, if something happens and your grandchild's in trouble, usually the first thing to do isn't to send money somewhere either, so.
I know two people this has happened to.
Yeah.
One sent money and the other one didn't. They were
Yeah.
smart enough not to do it. But
Yeah,
it really is-
definitely.
It must be lucrative.
Yeah.
It's a common one, I
Well,
think.
we had one specifically when I was a teller. One of my fellow coworkers, his grandmother actually got the call, and she called the bank when he was working and was like, hey, did you do this? And I was like, well, he's sitting right here, so I doubt that, you know, like, so, yeah, so definitely, you know, it's very important that you kind of take those extra steps and call and follow up before doing anything like that, so.
I know two people who had this scam by email.
Oh, sure.
Hack your email account and impersonate you and give you a message like that in a foreign country and
Absolutely.
fraud, et cetera.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and like Sarah said, the first instinct is to, oh, no, you know, I want to help them out, but just take a step back and
Yeah,
just to
make sure you're checking everything first.
But a real big piece that it is a scam is when they ask you to Western Union any money.
Yeah.
That's big, because Western Union's pretty much untraceable. You
Mm-hmm.
send it, you give them a name of who's going to pick it up, and they pick it up, and that's,
Yeah.
once it's out, you know, if they tell you to wire transfer, at least we're getting bank account information, but mostly it's Western Union. which
Yeah.
is- Yes.
My experience with this one is that people get repeat phone calls as well.
Oh, sure.
Send money, they're going to get another call saying we need more money.
Yes, absolutely. And they'll continuously call you, and, if you get your first call and you're like, okay, I'll go and have this done right away, they'll call you probably 10 minutes later and be like, well, did you do it yet? Keep calling until you, confirm. And they'll probably even call after, just to make sure, like,
And that they need
they're
more
very
money.
pushy. They're very pushy. They don't want you to think that it could be anything else. They just want to put immense pressure on you. And that's essentially what it is. And I mean, in a lot of the scams that we see, it's kind of the same way. It's just the approach is different, but they're very just on your case the whole time, constantly calling, so.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is access to ATM card. While it's really easy to say, hey, can you just take my card and go to the store and pick up some groceries? This is very easy for someone just to, sure, they'll buy the groceries, but then they might need gas, they might need, some other things. So we really recommend to not let anybody use your debit card or your credit card, and keep those safe just like you would a checkbook. You wouldn't leave your checkbook laying around. It's really easy nowadays to just take all the numbers off the card, and then they have it to use on the internet they give the card back to you, but they have the numbers and then they can use it, to make purchases online. So we really recommend, just to keep keep your card secure. Don't let anybody have access, especially to your PIN number for your card, or give them access to use your card.
Yeah, and to touch on that a little bit, if you do authorize someone to use your card, and let's say you're only authorizing them to do it to go buy stamps or something like that, and then they go out and spend $200 at the mall, because you authorized them to do that the one time, essentially, if you try to kind of go after them, it doesn't usually work out. Like, usually family members, if it is a family member, they don't want to, press charges for stuff like that, especially if it's a smaller amount. But if in chance they do, a lot of times if you authorize them at all, you're probably not going to get anybody to work with you because of all the regulations out there. If they authorized it to you once, then they can essentially, come back and say, well, you authorized it, so.
We can't give you the money back.
Exactly, so it's kind of a slippery slope with that. One of the other ones that we see a lot, we've gotten our staff really familiar with recognizing this when people present this, but we have a lot of customers that come with these emails or things that they got in the mail. Let's say they got a check and they got a letter saying that they won, an international lottery, which is not legal, first of all, just in case anybody didn't know that. But, let's say they say that you won $65,000. And they send you a check, and they're like, this is money for the taxes on it, so we need you to put it into your bank account and then send it out. Usually it's via Western Union, but sometimes it'll be wire, sometimes it'll be MoneyGram, stuff like that. So just so you know, if you ever win the lottery, definitely know that all the taxes the tax situation, I guess, is kind of filtered out later, but it's not before you get the money. You're not supposed to send the check, but essentially what happens is they deposit the check into their account, and then they're instructed the next day, since it's technically available in their account, to send it out. Well, it does take a couple days for that check to officially clear the bank that it came out of, and usually within a couple days we'll get notice that the check is altered fictitious, it's forged, completely closed account, that type of thing, and then you're out $4,800 that you sent, and you're responsible for paying for it because you got the cash out. So just make sure that if you ever get this type of notice, you're talking to your banker first. If it's something that you didn't enter to win, it's not going to be legit. I don't know, can you think of any others on that?
No.
Is anybody, go ahead.
You mentioned it's illegal.
International.
It's illegal. Winning the lottery?
International lotteries are not a thing, essentially.
International lotteries are not.
Right,
So
right.
the mail fraud is, if you got something in the mail, that's mail fraud, that's prosecuted.
Yeah, and actually, we do encourage you to take whatever you got. Like, so if it comes to you via actual, like, in the mail, in the mailbox, taking it to the post office, they can show it to the postal inspector, that type of thing. We do encourage doing that, absolutely. If it's done via email, not really. I mean, we don't really have a really approach to that, I guess. Contacting the police, but I don't think you're really gonna get too far. But, I mean, yeah, definitely take that to the post office if you get it in the mail.
We think mail fraud is a criminal offense,
Mm-hmm.
but phone fraud and email fraud are not.
I mean, I personally think so, but,
Immoral, but
Yeah.
not illegal.
right.
Yeah, it's
You
harder.
could contact like the Attorney
I don't
General's
think there's
office.
any laws.
I mean, in Iowa, the state,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Secretary of State or whatever to, I don't know, it seems to me there'd be somebody here in the state you could contact to say, you got this, just so they
Right.
know.
Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, he was touching on the fact that, with mail that you get like in the mailbox, like actual postage mail, that, if you get that type of scam via snail mail essentially, that is a federal offense, like tampering with mail or sending fraud through the mail, that type of thing. However, it's not really enforced too much via, if you get contacted over the phone or email. So, yeah, we were just kind of touching on that. Yeah, of course.
Okay, the next thing is the Medicare discount card fraud. Basically, these claims will, claim these discount cards can be used at your doctor or pharmacy to supplement Medicare. They'll often contact you via phone or email, and then you have to pay up front. Basically, for these, under federal law, the annual fee for the Medicare drug discount cards can't be more than $30, just put that out there. And then some companies do charge a lower fee or nothing at all, and then once a card is purchased, the annual fee can't be refunded. So those are the laws out there against it. But if you get an uninvited call, email, or knock at the door, it's a scam. Under the program, companies can only advertise their cards by mail, television, radio, and newspaper or other print media. They are not allowed to call, send you emails, or come door to door unless you ask them to come and talk to you about it. So just kind of be aware out there that those scams, while I haven't had any customers talk to me about this, but it definitely is something that is getting more prevalent and people are seeing, trying to get money off of that. Anything else? Have you seen any Medicare?
I haven't seen too much of that. It's more geared towards our next slide that I've seen, the prescription drug discount cards. I don't know if anyone's familiar with those, but we get a lot of customers that come in saying that they were contacted about these, and it's kind of like a flat fee that they tell you have to pay, and it's usually like once a year is what they say. And then, you get a certain percentage off of most of your prescription drugs, anything that's, for sure needed. If it's something that you don't necessarily, like it's kind of like an elective type thing, they don't cover, but they say that they cover pretty much anything. And what they'll do is they'll ask you for your account number, and so they can just pull it right out of your account. But what happens is usually 2 weeks later, a month later, something like that, you'll have a smaller amount come out, and it will just continuously come out periodically. And, and then you take the so-called, well, a lot of people actually don't get anything in the mail at all. They don't get any confirmation. A lot of times we'll have customers call in and say that they did this, and then they're like, well, I've been waiting 2 months and I haven't gotten any information for this company. And, we'll look it up and it's not a legitimate thing. But if the people actually happen to have something that is sent to them, their pharmacy will tell them, or their doctor's office will tell them that it's not a legitimate thing. And with this type of thing, it is a little bit easier than the actual sending of money, the approach to kind of get your money back, but it does usually require a new account, new cards, everything, a lot of cleanup. So, and a lot of paperwork you have to fill out, so it's kind of a drag. So definitely kind of watch out for this type of scam as well. Anytime that they contact you is kind of what we want you to really kind of recognize. If they're contacting you and you never signed up for anything, then it's going to be a scam.
Okay, next we're just gonna hit on prevention and ways to prevent these frauds and scams. That one.
Sure. Just going to kind of read these off. We've touched on a lot of them already, but yeah, so first one being never give your personal information out to anyone who calls you directly or emails you. Sometimes we'll have some people who will ask for account information over the phone, or over the email, excuse me, and they'll give it out that way as well. Also, a lot of people talk to people on chat rooms, that type of thing, and you might think that it's more geared towards young people, but we have a lot of people of all ages who do this, and, you know, the person they'll be talking to, they've developed a relationship with them for a while, and they think they know them really well, and they'll say, oh, I want to send money or something like that. They'll give them the information right away, or they'll give them their online banking information. So definitely don't do that. The only time I would ever say giving any type of information is if you physically call the bank yourself, and if that's the case, we will never ask you for an account number. We'll never ask you for a PIN number. We'll never ask for the full social security number. You know, it's very minimal information that we need from you, and usually it's nothing that involves your account number or your full social, anything like that. No card number information either. Let's see. So the second one, kind of going towards that lottery one that we talked about. Never send out any money when they're asking you to for winnings or anything like that. That should kind of be filtered out before you get the money. So you shouldn't need to worry about that. Never rush into a financial decision, kind of going back to the grandparent scheme. You know, they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. Time is of the essence. There's always time to kind of just take a step back and make sure that you are thinking clearly and before you send out any money, because you don't want to lose all your money, especially to fraudsters. Know your banker. Definitely have someone, even if it's not your primary banker, have someone at your bank that you know that you can contact and they can help you out, you know. And, you know, most banks all have a call center, and they can direct you to someone, if not themselves, that can help you with this type of thing. Let's see. Check references before hiring anyone. That would kind of go back to the contracting. And, you know, the internet's an amazing thing. It's also very, very not amazing as well, I would guess. Like, a lot of the frauds that we see, you know, are kind of, the internet aids them in a lot of ways, but it also can help with, you know, checking references, reading reviews on different companies. If they say they're a company, a contracting company, you can probably find something with that name out there, and if it's a scam, usually it'll be like the first or second thing that pops up if you use Google. So definitely do that. And make sure that you're paying with checks and credit cards if you're doing this type of thing, like if you're having people work on your home, something like that. That way there's some type of an electronic or paper trail instead of just paying in cash. If you have people who, you know, keep pressing you to buy this or do this, you need to get involved in this really great deal because, you know, you'll get so much off your prescriptions or blah, blah, blah. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to ask your banker, ask a police officer, ask a friend, anyone for help, and really just trust your gut. You know, if it feels wrong in any way, it usually is. So, and there's no harm in making that phone call. If this person really wants your business that bad, they'll be okay if you wait an hour and call someone else and make sure that it sounds
What
legit.
about using the Better Business Bureau as a reference, that is, as a source of references? Or
Sure, absolutely.
evaluations?
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, and you can also, if you have any companies like this, you can always report them to the Better Business Bureau to put them on the list, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah.
I made a comment on the references. Sometimes you get a phone number that, you know, if somebody calls there, you're supposed to say it's a good thing to give them your money. So the references.
Right.
His idea of Better Business Bureau is
Probably better.
much more positive. I think.
Sure, absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, next one, what can you do? I'm just going to read these off as well. Review your Medicare summary notice, making sure that all the charges and fees that you're getting on your Medicare summary, it's all legit, you are aware of everything. Protect your Medicare number just as you do your checkbook and credit cards. It's very important to keep that safe. Be suspicious of anyone who offers you free medical equipment or services and then request your Medicare number. They won't do that. They don't need it at that time. Don't let anyone borrow or pay to use your Medicare ID card or your identity. Review your credit report. You get one free credit report a year at annualcreditreport.com. And that way you can review it, make sure there's no additional trade lines opened in your name, no additional credit cards, nothing else. And everything is yours that you signed up for. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Just like what Sarah says, if you don't, you got to trust your gut. If it doesn't sound right, definitely worth a double look.
We kind of touched on this a little bit, especially with what the gentleman in the back said about the, like getting a hold of the postal inspector, that type of thing. But kind of letting law enforcement know is something that we do recommend to definitely all of our fraud victims, but a lot of the people who come in with the schemes that maybe don't fall for them, but they're kind of questioning them. Because, if it's maybe like 20 or 30 different people are receiving these lottery scams in the mail in a particular town or something, if the cops get enough of these, reported, then they'll probably look into it a little farther. It's possible that it is a local crime ring, that type of thing, that maybe, your information, maybe there's like 4 or 5 other people who have already reported it, and, your information will definitely help. So they can definitely use any tips that you would have if you received anything like this. I definitely recommend getting a hold of them. And, if you get something in the mail, definitely let the post office know. They do get in contact with financial institutions about these different scenarios. It's not like you call them and fill out a report and they do nothing. We do get a lot of calls. I deal with police officers a lot. They'll get me subpoenas if they need, video footage or something like that, or customers will authorize to give information if it means, kind of stopping a particular fraud ring. So they do investigations, definitely, and kind of work with the banks, kind of. We periodically also get calls from them on just kind of briefing them on kind of what's going on, what we're seeing a lot of as well, just in case our customers aren't kind of reporting. They will offer great advice on what to kind of look for and, solutions if you do get these types of scams presented to you. And they'll also kind of give you tips on, what you can do to kind of better protect your money as well, so.
And then last, what can we do for you? Definitely reach out to your bank for help. Reach out to your banker that you know. If you ever have a situation that you're unsure about, don't hesitate to ask us or your banker about it. Chances are that we've heard about it or are able to navigate through, ask some questions to make sure that we're guiding you into the right direction. We're able to provide financial counseling services. We train our staff, our frontline staff, to look out for these types of scams and to be able to recognize any of the checks or anything that you get in the mail and ask those additional questions just to make sure, you're not being scammed or duped. We really encourage the use of direct deposit, going straight to the source, having them pull it instead of using a middleman potentially if they call you. And then obviously Sarah deals a lot with, like she said, the law enforcement. So she works with them for any scams that we're seeing on our end, and she lets them know about as well. So it's a reciprocal relationship that we have with them.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.